Hi, this is Jen from Windrose Fiber Studio. Today I'm going to do a quick demonstration on how to crochet a zinnia. The complete zinnia pattern can be found on my blog at windrosefiberstudio.blogspot.com. Begin your zinnia flower by chaining 2. Now we're going to work 6 single crochets into the second chain from the hook. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You can see how those single crochets have just worked themselves around into a little ring. For row 2, we're going to continue working in the round, and we're going to work 2 single crochets into the back loops of row 1. If you take a closer look at a stitch, you can see the front and the back loop. I'm working into the back loop. 2 single crochets into each back loop. So row 1 has 6 single crochets. Row 2 is going to have 12 single crochets. Row 2 is complete. You can see the unworked front loops of row 1, and row 2 gives us 12 single crochets to work into. And now we're going to begin row 3. In row 3, we're also going to be working into the back loops of row 2. We're going to begin by working a slip stitch into the back loop of the next stitch. We're still working in the round. Now we're going to chain 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then we're going to join with a slip stitch in the same loop, in the same stitch. And now we're going to slip stitch in the back loop of the next stitch. We're going to chain 10 and then join in the same stitch. We're going to continue on this way around until we have 12 petals. Row 3 is now complete. I have 12 large petals around my flower. Now we're going to work row 4. In row 4, we are going to make our petals in the front loops, in the unworked front loops of row 2. Row 3 is worked in the back loops of row 2. Row 4 is worked in the front loops of row 2. Row 4 is going to be made just like row 3. We're going to slip stitch into the front loop, but instead of chaining 10, we're going to chain 8. We're going to make these petals just a little bit smaller. 5, 6, 7, 8. And now I'm going to slip stitch back into that same front loop, and then move on to the next front loop. Chain 8, slip stitch back into the same stitch, and then we're going to continue making our petals in the front loops until we have 12 medium-sized petals. Okay, here we are at the end of row 4. Our flower is really starting to take shape. We have 24 petals, 12 on each row. Now we're going to do our last row, row 5. Row 5 is our final row of petals. Row 5 is worked into the front loops of row 1. If you look carefully at our flower, you can see the unworked front loops of row 1. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Going to go ahead and insert our hook under the front loop and join with a slip stitch. In row 5, we're going to chain 6. This will be our smallest row of petals. slip stitch to the same front loop. Then we're going to go ahead and go into the next front loop. If you bend your flower over, you see how I'm sort of bending my flower over? Those front loops just kind of present themselves. Here I am at the end of row 5. I've just made 6 small petals. I already cut off my yarn, leaving a nice long tail. I can thread that ending tail and then just feed it through to the other side of my flower. I can use these tail ends to attach my flower to a hat or scarf or a pin back. Zinnia flowers make really nice brooches because they're nice and full.